Have you ever faced a challenge so big that it changed the way you look at life? Well, in today's episode, I'm talking to Sarah Arvizu. She shares her powerful journey with stage 3 triple negative breast cancer. From the emotional and physical hurdles of diagnosis to finding strength and vulnerability in community support, Sarah's story is one of resilience and transformation. Whether you're going through your own health struggles or just need some inspiration, this conversation is one you won't want to miss. And if you're new here, you're listening to the How We Get Through podcast, a space for real, unfiltered conversations with healers, helpers, and humans who've been through it all. I'm your host, Jen, a licensed therapist and your guide into how we get woo, a space where we don't just listen to healers, you experience them. Inside the community, you'll find rituals, journal prompts, meditations, and soul-expanding live events that leave you feeling more intuitive and whole. So if you're feeling the pull, we'd love to have you inside. The link's in the show notes. Welcome or welcome back to How We Get Through. Welcome back to How We Get Through. We have Sarah Arvizu on the podcast today. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, we've had some rough starts, but we're here. Sarah, we met at a networking event maybe last year,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you have a wonderful podcast called Creating Sunshine.
I do. Actually, I think it was 2023. I was thinking about it the other day. It was like end of 2023.
What? That
I
feels like
think.
lifetimes ago.
I know.
Oh my gosh. Well, I had the pleasure of being on your podcast and it was so much fun. And I'm excited to chat with you today. You have been very vocal on your channel about your cancer journey. And can you just maybe walk us through how it all began for you?
Ooh, okay. Yes. So, my name is Sarah. I was diagnosed with stage 3 triple negative breast cancer, and I, I guess you could say I was diagnosed in early December because that's when I actually found out that I had it. But I didn't actually find out the stage and the treatment and everything until the beginning of January. So when you're going
Wow.
through something like this, it's always like a crazy, crazy waiting game. And I found the lump myself. I was in the shower. Um, and it was probably late July, maybe early August of 2024. And I felt it. And I wasn't somebody like I didn't really do like regular breast exams or anything like that because I had an IUD. So I didn't have a cycle. I didn't have something to like remind me to do it. I just happened to be doing it. And I was like, oh, that's weird. But I didn't think anything of it. I thought it was probably a cyst. No one in my family's ever had breast cancer. I felt good. I felt healthy, but I still wanted to go to the doctor, get it checked out. And my OB had retired. I didn't have a primary. I was not in a good position to just get into a doctor. You can't get a mammogram and an ultrasound without a referral if you found something. So if it's diagnostic. So I know. And I didn't get in to see the doctor until October. And it was growing pretty rapidly. But I still wasn't concerned. I just thought it was a cyst, but it was getting uncomfortable. Like with my sports bras when I was working out, I'm like, whatever this thing is, I just need to get it taken out. So October, I saw my primary. Then they ordered a mammogram and an ultrasound, which I then had in November. And
Oh my
I know,
God.
I know everything was just a waiting game. And so I had my mammogram and my ultrasound in November. And that doctor actually, right after it was the day before Thanksgiving, and I had my daughters in the waiting room, and they're 7 and 11 because I
Mm-mm.
was running late because we were coming back from a trip. And I'm like, just wait in the waiting room. Mommy's going to run in and get this test done. And I'm sitting there, and the guy wants to talk to me. And he tells me, well, you have a mass in your breast. And by this point, it's probably about the size of like a clementine and
Wow.
from a grape to a clementine. And so he tells me, well, we're going to assume that it's cancer until we know that it's not. And when he tells me that, I mean, knowing me and, my podcast Creating Sunshine, I'm like, that's not me. Like, that's not my vibe. I'm a happy person. I'm a positive person. So I kind of took it with a grain of salt when he said that. And it did kind of shock me. And I went out to the girls and I was crying a little bit. And my oldest daughter was like, Mom, what's wrong? And I'm like, nothing. I just need to get something checked. I said, but I already knew because I obviously had found the lump. And I told everybody how bad I thought this doctor's bedside manner was. I was like, "This guy is such a jerk. I can't believe he would say that. Like, I'm not gonna assume it's cancer. I'm gonna assume it's not cancer." Right, and so he's telling me this, and the following week is when I went to go see my primary, and he's going over my blood work, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, you're so healthy, like, you get an A plus, and that's gonna make this next step easier," and I'm like, "Well, what next step are you talking about?" And he goes, "Didn't you hear what the doctor told you last week?" I said, "Yeah, he was so rude, I can't believe he said that," and he said, "We can tell a cancerous mass from a mammogram and an ultrasound, we don't need a biopsy." And I'm
Wow.
telling you, normally I don't say this without a positive biopsy result, but I'm telling you right now that you have breast cancer. And I was shocked because I thought that you needed the biopsy to determine if it was cancer or not. Well, all the biopsy does is just determine the stage and what kind it is.
Wow.
So, yeah, so immediately I left. That was on December 4th. Immediately I left, went to my parents' house, just broke down and was like, oh my God, what are we going to do? So then you're still waiting because now you need a biopsy, right? So I'm still thinking, okay, well, maybe they'll just do surgery, take it out, it'll be fine. And so they do the biopsy, and it was like December 19th, they did the biopsy, and I go, they're going to call me 2 days before Christmas. And my friend's like, no, they're not. They called me 2 days before Christmas, and they told me that I had um, triple negative. No, actually, they didn't tell me then. Then they just told me it was like basal ductal carcinoma, something like that, like something I didn't understand. And I didn't go on to like their site, to the portal to read it, which I'm glad I didn't because I still was like, okay, what does that mean? Like I
Right.
didn't know there was different types of breast cancer. I didn't know, like I had no clue. So then at the beginning of the year when I went to go meet, they go, okay, you need to meet with the oncologist, you need to have a PET scan, and like everything started happening like crazy fast. And so then when I went in the beginning of January, I met with the oncologist, and that's when she told me, she said, "You have stage 3." Even though it hadn't spread, it was still stage 3 because the size of the mass. Because at this point now, the mass is anything more than 5 centimeters is considered aggressive. And at this point now, it's at 5.5. So it's
Wow.
like a softball size at this point. And so she tells me it's stage 3 because of the type, because triple negative is a very aggressive breast cancer. And only 10 to 15% of people that get breast cancer get triple negative breast cancer. So it's because of the type, because of the size. Um, and then I started treatment in January. I started chemo. So I've already done 5 rounds. I have one more to
Wow.
go.
Mm.
And then we move on to the surgery.
So it sounds like there's only a rush until there's an actual diagnosis, but the way to a diagnosis feels very slow.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. It's a huge waiting game until you get the diagnosis. And then you get the diagnosis. And when you probably want to slow down, it's
Right.
like, okay, appointment, appointment, appointment. Let's go, let's go. It was like MRI, PET scan, doing this, doing that. And I was just like, oh my God, like treatment starting. Okay, you need a chest port. Like it was just all these things were happening. And yeah, it's pretty wild.
And do you know what triple negative means? Like, what
Yeah,
the hell is that?
I know. And everybody's like, I've never heard of that before. So basically, most breast cancers are fueled by estrogen, progesterone, and HER2. So a lot of the women that have those types of breast cancers, which most of the women I know that have breast cancer have those types. I do know 2 women that have had triple negative. Um, those are the women that you hear that they're giving them hormone blockers to shut down their ovaries. Because at that point, it's not that estrogen will cause more cancer, but it fuels the cancer. So they completely shut down their ovaries. Some women end up getting hysterectomies. So mine is not fueled by any of those 3 things.
Triple negative. I see.
Triple negative, right? So then what happens is mine is more aggressive. It has a higher chance of reoccurrence within the first 5 years, which is why I'm opting for the double mastectomy instead of just the single when they told me that's all I needed. Um, and Also, it's resistant to certain treatments, so I have to have different types of chemo for the triple negative breast cancer because it's not fueled the same way that most other breast cancers are.
You special.
Mhm. Very rare. My
Yes.
daughter calls me an overachiever.
Yeah.
She's like, "You've had
Seriously.
infections, you've been in the hospital." She's like, "Mom, you're just such an overachiever." I'm
I
like, "I know,
know.
I know."
And how has the chemo process been for you?
Um, it's been okay. The beginning was definitely I had to really, like, learn how it was gonna affect my body, and obviously everybody's different, but so my chemos, I have them every 3 weeks, I have them on a Thursday, and typically, like, Thursday, Friday, I'm okay. Friday, I also have to give myself an injection, which is like a white blood cell, I don't know, like immune booster type of injection. So I have to give myself that on Friday afternoons. And then Saturday and Sunday is when I'm really like tired, drained. You feel this, it's almost like the flu, like your whole body. Like for me, it's my head, the back of my head, my jaw, my shoulders, my neck. Like you're just extremely sore. And the exhaustion that you feel is not like, it's not like I need to lay down and take a nap. It's just like your whole entire body is just tired. And my daughter jokes about chemo brain because it really does mess with you. Like I can walk into a room and be like, I don't know why I'm here. I couldn't remember my friend's name the other day. I was so embarrassed. I'm like, what is her, like, I wanted to text her so bad, and I was just like, I was so frustrated with myself because I don't know, like, you just can't think, you can't remember. And then after about a week, it kinda starts to go back to normal, it kinda starts to go away. But yeah, I definitely had to learn how to eat because in the beginning, I was like, "I'm a person that can eat anything." Like, well, not when you are taking chemo. Like, you need to keep it simple, you need to keep it bland. So, I've really learned a lot about my nutrition and, detoxed my whole kitchen and done all of that.
What
So,
does that mean? Detox your kitchen.
I have a friend who's a chef, and she basically came over and threw a lot of my stuff away.
She's like, "This is crap." Yeah.
Right, and I was like, "Well, don't throw everything away. I'm a single mom on a budget, so why
Yeah.
don't you just tell me what I could buy next time?" But yeah, we basically went through and it was a lot of, like, the processed foods, the seed oils we looked at, a lot of sugar, things like that, so I kinda got rid of a lot of the, like, the prepackaged foods I had, a lot of the snacks I would buy for the girls. You know,
Mhm.
I'm thinking like, "Oh, the granola bars and everything, like, that's all crap." But learning that, I mean, there's way easier and cheaper ways that you can just do it yourself that really doesn't take that much time.
Mhm. Yeah. And are you still working throughout all this?
No, no.
Good. Okay.
I decided in the beginning because my doctor had told me, she said, "You know, some people will just take off the week that they have chemo, and then they'll work for 2 weeks and then take a week off." And when I started thinking about it, I was like, "You know what?" And being a single mom and having the girls, it was really important to me to be able to spend my good days with them because they're only 11 and 7. So this is like super scary to them. And I was like, "You know, I don't want to spend my good days at work and then my bad days at home feeling like crap." So I decided pretty early on that through treatment, I was going to take a leave from work, which I'm really, really glad that I did because on what were supposed to have been my good weeks, I've ended up in the hospital. I've had infections. And not only that, it's just all the appointments and everything else. I don't even know how it would be possible. I have like 4 appointments next week on what's supposed to be a good week.
On top of having kids
Yeah.
and being a single mom.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a job in itself.
It is. I was showing my dad my calendar yesterday and because he was laughing at me and I said, "No, look," and it's all color coded for different things, and my dad was like, "Oh, wow, that's, I said, "I have to because it's so much to keep track of."
Mhm. What are you learning about your body in this process?
Probably that I guess I wasn't as healthy as I thought I was.
Mm.
I mean, I really thought I just turned 45, and I really thought that, you know, I was working out and I was eating healthy, and I've been on this personal development journey for, you know, probably I started it 5 years ago, but I would say I didn't really, really dive in until probably, like, late 2022, and I think that I've learned that while sometimes we think we're managing things well and we have it all together, like, I think sometimes we really need to do, like, a gut check and see how like, let's get real with ourselves.
Mm.
You know, are you really taking the time for yourself that you should be taking the time for? Are you really, you know, prioritizing yourself and your self-care and your, you know, whatever that looks like for you, if you need to meditate or if you need to journal, if you need to go for a walk, you know, like, or are you just running, 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 like on the go all the time, just checking all the boxes?
Yeah, and I mean, it sounds like this was really slowing you down in a lot of ways to take care of your body.
Hmm. It definitely has put things in a different perspective. It's definitely made me reprioritize my life because you know, working full time and trying to build a business and having a podcast, it was like the times that the girls were at school, if I had a day off of work, it was just everything was business, you know, and it was, they'd go to bed and it was business. And I wasn't, and at that, I didn't even really feel like I wasn't accomplishing what I wanted to accomplish. So I was just kind of like on this hamster wheel. So since then, I've joined groups and I've joined people and I'm learning how to prioritize. I'm learning how to get organized. I'm learning how to focus. So when I do sit down to get something done, like I actually get it done and I'm not just like all over the place like I was before. So I felt busy, but like I guess I wasn't being productive.
Mm, that's a very good distinction, and I've fallen into that trap as well, like,
Hmm.
and wearing it as a badge of honor, and people
Right.
be like, "Wow, you're doing so much." I'm like, that I'd be like, "Yeah, I know," but inside I'm like, "Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
And then at the
go."
end of the day, I'm still looking at my list like, well, I felt busy as hell today, but look at this list. Like I
Nothing got
didn't get
done.
anything completed.
Mhm. So do you feel like this journey right now is feels a little bit of the same way? Like I'm not necessarily busy, but like am I do you feel any sense of completion? Do you feel you're still in it? But what has really shifted for you in that perspective?
I definitely feel like I have reprioritized what's important and what I really want to do. I think before maybe I don't know. I mean, it's the social media thing, right? You think like I'm
Mm,
watching everybody else and I'm seeing what they're doing and I'm feeling like I should be doing that because that's what they did and they were successful and they made money. So it's really given me a chance to really get clear with what I want. And I've done a lot of this through like meditation. I've done Reiki, a lot of breath work and things to just because the last breath work that I did, um, it's been different for me every time I do it. But when I
mhm,
did it, I actually had this like clarity about like my business and what I want to do. And it wasn't even something that I had ever really thought of. And so when it came through, I was like, oh, that's interesting. But knowing that that was probably my subconscious, like telling me what I really wanted instead of watching, what everyone else was doing and thinking that I should be doing that because that's what works.
mhm. Can I ask what that is? Like, what are you wanting to do?
Well, I actually during that session, because I have done a live event. I recorded a podcast in front of a live audience, and I loved it, and that was really, really fun, and I do wanna do that again. But at the beginning of the year let me back up a little bit, because at the beginning of the year before I was diagnosed, I was about to launch a membership, and it was called the Sunshine Era, and I still do want to do that in some capacity, but once I was diagnosed, I thought, I'm not gonna be able to pour into these people the way that I want to, and it's gonna be doing a disservice to them if I just push through and just do it anyway. So I paused, I didn't launch it, even though I had people that were ready, people that wanted to join. Um, but during that breathwork session, the thing that came through was like it was like a retreat, like a small intimate retreat, with I don't know, 8 to 10 women and having a weekend in a beautiful place where I could help and teach them all of the things that I've learned that have helped me, and have meditation and have sound bath and have somebody come and do Reiki and not necessarily have it be about business, but have it be about personal, about their mindset, about how important it is to pour into yourself. Because what I've learned is that you can't build a business if your mindset is not right. You
Right.
really can't. Like, you have to have the right kind of mindset because number one, it's tough, but if you aren't confident and stable and, emotionally sound, like, you are gonna doubt the hell out of yourself.
Mhm. Yeah. And I just think it's so interesting how, like, the universe or God was you were like, "I'm gonna pour in other people," and the universe was like, "No,
Mhm.
people are gonna pour into you."
Yes. Oh
And
my gosh, that's
how
been the biggest thing.
yeah, how is that for you? How has your community and friends showed up for you? What is it like to receive that?
It's funny that you asked that question because that was probably one of the things that I was the most scared of. Because there have been so many other things that happened in my life that I didn't share, that I didn't talk about. Like when my husband and I separated, I didn't tell anybody. I didn't even tell my parents for 3 months. Like I literally dealt with it all by myself. And so when I was first diagnosed and I had to tell my daughters, like one of the things I told them is I want you guys to tell who you want to tell. I don't want you to feel like embarrassed or anything like that. And I said, but then I thought, okay, I'm already here with a public platform, with a podcast, sharing my life on social media, or what I thought I was sharing my life on social media. Um, and so how can I tell them that and then I don't do the same? Like, I feel like as a mom, you gotta lead by example, and I would look like a total hypocrite if I was gonna just hide it. Because at first I thought about that. I said, "Well, I can just still post my weekly episodes. I can post my little motivation quotes. Like, maybe I can just go through this and then nobody will know." And I thought, for some reason, I just felt like, "You need to share this because you're gonna need help. Like, you're gonna have to ask for help this time." And actually accepting it and receiving it has not been as difficult as I thought. And the way that people have showed up, it's so much more than I thought. And even from friends connecting me with complete strangers that have been through this or are going through this. And, people, I mean, my dad was like, "I wish I could pay for everything for you, but I can't." So he started a GoFundMe and just having like all of these people donate. I was like, oh my God, like I was blown away. And I mean, then people sent gift cards and I kept coming home and there was like flowers on the porch. And I'm like, holy cow, like it's just been really, really amazing. And I think even like just sharing it has been, healing because I know that when I share things on my podcast that I've gone through, like it heals me too. Like it only doesn't just help my listeners. I'm sure you feel the same. Like it doesn't just help my listeners, but it helps me to heal. And so as I'm going through this and even my whole insurance thing that I was frustrated with, as I'm talking about it on my story, it's like it helps, to talk about it, to vent, to get your frustration out. And at first I was like, oh gosh, this is gonna be too much. Maybe I should start like a close friends list. And then I was reminded by a friend, like, this is your page. And if they don't wanna see what you're talking about, then they can unfollow, they can see themselves out. You don't have to create a close friends list and feel like you need to, like, protect the majority of your followers from what's really going on in your life.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, you know what? That's kinda true." And I honestly don't think since then, I don't think I've posted to my close friends list. I think it's all out here and everybody sees it, and like she said, if you don't wanna see it, I totally understand that, but I get to have this platform and I get to talk about what I wanna talk about, so
Mhm.
if you're here, then
Yes.
you're gonna get it.
Yeah. And I do think that vulnerability and being really honest is what people want.
I
Like,
do too.
they don't want the curated life because it's
Right.
not real and it doesn't feel good. Like,
Mhm.
so yeah, but I understand too, it's like you kind of waver a little bit, like, is this something that I'm ready for
Right.
to share? And what does that look like? And if something isn't supportive, which I can't imagine people are trolling you, and if
I
they are,
don't
give
think
me their
anybody
number.
has, no.
Yeah, exactly. But, it's crazy when you put things out there on the
Right.
internet. But it's like, I wanting to share this story? And then when you do share, you get so much back.
You do, you really do, and even people reaching out and people that I know and reaching out and telling me what they've been through, and I had no idea. Or people reaching out and telling me,
Mhm.
"I wish I would have shared my story the way that you're sharing yours because I didn't accept help and I went through it all by myself." Or people that have now shared, I have a friend that, like, now she shared about what happened to her 2 years ago and nobody had a clue. It's
Wow.
just she was just gone from work, and but for me, the other part, and I think that you'll, like, resonate with this, both that we're single moms, but
Mhm.
I realized that I like it better when I get to tell my own story
Mhm.
because all of the things that have happened in my life that I didn't choose to share, people really like making up their version about what's happened.
Yes, they fill in the blanks for you.
They absolutely did, and so I said, "You know what? They're not gonna be able to make anything up if I'm over here telling them everything that's already going on." So,
Yeah.
I
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. Like, you get to be empowered by
Mhm.
that because it's from your lips.
Yeah.
It's your words.
Yep.
Does anything like being a single mom feel like kind of not prep you, but spurred you on of like, "Okay, I can't do this alone, and I don't want to do this alone." Like, if you were partnered, do you think you would feel a little bit different or no?
Ooh, I
Is that
don't
a weird
know,
question?
because 'cause I've been single for, like, 5 years, so it's kind of
Mhm.
like I don't know how I would feel. I would hope that I would have a supportive partner,
Yes.
you
Sorry,
know?
if you had a supportive partner.
Exactly,
We'll start
exactly.
there.
I mean, I just think that I've made so many amazing, beautiful connections, through putting myself out there and getting in like, meeting you and getting in rooms and going to these communities that I can't imagine now, like, not sharing this.
Mhm.
And not only that, because it helps me, it heals me, it's allowed me to accept support, but also thinking like I always have, like, when I started my podcast, I was like, "I wanna start this podcast for, like, who I used to be." I wanna share my story because maybe there's somebody out there that doesn't have enough courage to share theirs, or maybe they're a couple steps behind me and maybe they just got diagnosed and, like, they can see how I'm doing and what I'm doing, and maybe that gives them a little bit of hope.
Yeah. And I mean, speaking from my own experience, obviously I would cry so much on this fucking podcast, but it's so healing. And even voice note with a ton of girlfriends on the daily, and they'll be like, hey, I'm going through something. Can I voice note you? And in their voice note, they externally process what they need to process.
Mhm.
And then you just kind of reflect back for them. And so sharing your story and sharing your experience is so powerful, especially even if it's into the void. Like if it's
Yeah.
just like you're not getting direct feedback, but knowing like if it's in the podcast, you have a supportive community, or if it's a voice note, you have a supportive friend on the other line. I think this is like for anybody that's listening that feels so alone, like speak it, like get the energy out, get it flowing, get it moving, because sometimes we can get so tunneled and
Yeah.
so sad and alone and feel like we're the only person. And that's where sharing our stories, I think, is so powerful.
I think it's so huge that you said that too, because I think that previously, like when I didn't share and I chose to keep it all in, I think I had that feeling like, or you feel like, I don't want to be a bother. I don't want to be a burden. They're probably busy. Like, but the thing is you put it out there and then you let them decide,
Yes.
how they want to support you. And believe it or not, like people love you. They care about you. They want to support you. They want to be there for you. And in the beginning, it was a kind of this overwhelming, like, let me know how I can support you. Let me know if you need anything. And in the beginning, I was like, I
I don't
I
know what that
don't
is.
know. I have no idea what I need. And then so once things started going on, I was like, you know what? Today, like, I need company. I'm an extrovert by nature, and now I'm not working. And I've decided that that was my responsibility on the days that I felt good to reach out to the people that had offered it. Hey, do you want to go for a walk at the beach? Do you want to get coffee? Do you want to get lunch? Because they do move on with their life, and they do have things and they are busy, and I can't expect them to read my mind and to know when I'm having a good day, and what I find is a lot of people too are like, "I wanna reach out more than I do, but also I don't wanna bother you. I wanna let you rest. I wanna let you heal." So, once people have offered that, I think you do carry some responsibility to take them up on it and not expect them to keep reaching out and to keep reaching out. So now I take that chance and if they're busy, they're busy. And then maybe there's about 5 other people that have reached out, and I don't take it any kind of way like, oh, they said they wanted to support me and now they're not here. Like you do have to understand that other people have lives as well.
Yes, yes. Which I think you're really naming like barriers that I think women have in asking for support. It's like number one, everyone's too busy.
Mhm.
Number two, when I ask for it, nobody responds in the way that I want,
Right.
right? And number three, it's like a vulnerability thing. Like I can't share that much. Or what if I'm judged? Or what if they won't be there in the way that I need?
Right. Well, and
And
that's the other thing too is if you are asking people to support you in something that they have never been through. So
right.
95% of my friends have never had cancer. You need to acknowledge that and you need to be specific in what you need and not expect them to know because before this, I wouldn't have known how to support somebody. I wouldn't have known what to do. I wouldn't have known how they were feeling. Like I had no clue. My mom had colon cancer when my oldest daughter was first born, but I was living in San Diego and I wasn't even up here. And because I had taken all of my time, like, I couldn't and then my daughter was constantly sick and she couldn't be around her. But other than that, like, I'd never been in close proximity with somebody with cancer that was going through chemo and going through everything else. So, you can't expect people to just know what you need if they've never been in your shoes.
Mhm. Just like having a baby, that's what it reminds me of. Like,
Mhm.
before I had a baby, I was like, "I don't know." And then you have a
Right? You
baby and
have
you're
no
like,
clue.
"Oh, shit, I really could have done a lot more."
Exactly, exactly. I could have done more than just drop off a box of diapers for the
Yes.
family.
Yes, it's so true, it's so true. And I do think, not everybody will have a baby, not everybody will experience cancer or something big, but it is like, you try your best, like, what do they need? And then, it is overwhelming because, sometimes you just don't know what you need.
Right.
And but I like that idea of, like, having a little bit of responsibility, and it also sounds like clarity.
Mhm.
When you have clarity of what you need and then you can ask for it, then you let go of the outcome
Yeah.
within that and not take it personal.
Yeah. And I mean, the other thing too, especially is, and as single moms, and I'm sure you understand this, is like we have this like, I used to wear this like badge of independence. You know what I mean? Like I did it all by myself. And it's like nobody's winning an award over here for whoever did everything alone. It's like, what are we doing? Like just allow people to help you, allow people to be there. It's like at the end of the day, when I was wearing that badge of independence, I was stressed out. I was burnt out. I wasn't being, some days I was losing my shit on my daughters. And it's like, for what? To sit here and like at the end of the day say, well, I did it and I don't need anybody. Well, you know what? We do need people.
Yeah.
You really,
Es
really do.
especially as women, and it kinda goes against our nature to be so isolated and independent,
Mhm. Mhm. And
you
we're not the
know?
first person. Like you said, you're not the first person to be a single mom. I'm not the first person to have cancer. It's not like you're not gonna find people in the world that can relate to you. Like somebody somewhere has been through it or knows somebody or knows someone, it's like you're over here thinking you're the only one. Like, we're not.
You ain't, babe.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
But it is that isolation, that isolating thinking,
Mhm.
that gets us trapped, especially as women, like,
Yeah.
and then it becomes shameful, right? If I'm the only one, then I'm alone and I feel shame about that, like, it's just endless circle.
It is.
So reach out if you're having an issue, basically.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, can we talk a little bit about this insurance debacle and
Oh,
what the
yes.
fuck is happening? Because I think this is also an important topic.
It is.
And I mean, who knows what will be dismantled in the next 4 years or whatever.
I know,
But
I know.
you have do you have a PPO or HMO?
Oh, so I have a P this is what's even confusing. So I
Hmm.
have had a PPO forever, I thought. But one of my providers the other day said you have an EPO, which I never even heard of
What
that.
the
I don't
hell's
even know
that?
what that is. I don't know. They said it's an exclusive provider, which everybody else is still saying PPO. So I don't know if that was just like some
They
kind of
just changed
subtext or
it.
something. I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know. But yes, to answer your question, I have a PPO.
Okay. And then how has insurance, obviously, so we talk about the diagnosis process is long and nobody gives a shit until you get a diagnosis.
Hmm.
And was insurance covered with that? Like that was fine?
Yes. So luckily, most of the things and most of the tests that I needed, the reason everything started happening so fast is because I actually didn't need authorization. So the MRIs, the ultrasound, like everything was just they were able to make the appointment. There was no like submitting anything to my insurance. So that's part of the reason why everything moved so quickly after I was diagnosed.
Okay. Because you have a diagnosis, you don't need the authorization, apparently.
Correct. Or for whatever reason. But then, it's tricky because the other thing that happens is when the bills start rolling in. And, I would call my insurance company and try to talk to them because the insurance plan that I have is supposed to pay 90% and then I pay 10%. Well, 10% of a lot is still a lot.
Yeah.
And so when the bills start coming in, I called them to try to ask them questions because there are certain things that happen, like procedures. Like I had two procedures that were both $20,000. And so my out of pocket for one of them was $6 and my out of pocket for another one was $1,000. And so my question to them was like, how do you guys determine how much you're going to cover? Because, you'll see like insurance discounts and then you'll see all this crazy stuff on there. And that's when they start telling you, well, certain procedures like the MRI was covered 100%. That's why you only owe $6. So your biopsy was not covered. That's why you owe $1,000. But it's like, how do you differentiate what you're going to cover and what you're not going to cover? Like they're all necessary tests.
Right.
So that's what's very bizarre. I mean, I'm glad at the end of the day that it wasn't just a straight 90% down the middle because I would have ended up paying a lot more than what I did end up paying. But it's just interesting how they determine what they're going to cover at what percent, which I think is complete bullshit.
Right. And when you're talking to the insurance company, are they like willing to work with you or they're like, well, this
No,
is just the way it is?
no. A friend of mine suggested to me that it is negotiable. So that's why I called in the
Right.
first place. And the lady was asking me all the dates of the procedures because at that point, everything had been done pretty much at the same hospital. So it was like one huge bill with like, I don't know, 8 to 10 different procedures on it. And so when I called the lady, she was asking for all the dates, and her answer to everything was, no, that's billed correctly. No, that's billed correctly. And I'm like, so, I mean, because I've heard that there's like programs and all of these different things. And maybe there is still stuff that I don't know about. But she was basically like, no, it is what it is. Would you like to set up a payment plan? I'm like, I
I would like to
guess.
talk to your manager.
So it definitely was. I did not get the feeling that it was a negotiable price.
Yeah. I feel like it's maybe whoever you talk to on that day. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. I mean, I'm sure it's still like hard, but
Yeah.
again, it's just another like failure
Mm-hmm.
for people who actually need treatment.
Right. Because now I mean, I don't know about anybody listening, but like I didn't have a savings account for cancer. So it's just like, so and a lot of the things I could say, because then they do have like financial assistance and things like that, but everything's income based. And I'm like, so somebody that makes a certain amount of money doesn't get anything because, they make too much money. Like my money that I make was budgeted for my bills and my rent and
Right.
everything and my kids. And it's just a messed up system. I'm
Yeah.
learning so much more.
Mhm. And so you have one more treatment for
Mhm.
chemo,
Yes.
and then what happens?
And then, 6 weeks after that, I'm going to be having my surgery, which is double mastectomy.
Mhm.
I did just find a surgeon. So there's a typical this is what ended up happening last week because there's a typical treatment plan that they tell you that you need. So I went to go see the plastic surgeon, which is the reconstructive surgeon, and you need an oncology surgeon. So the oncology surgeon is going to go in, they're going to remove all the cancer, and then any potential like lymph nodes, anything they need to remove. And so I went to see the oncology surgeon, and that's when I told her I would like a double mastectomy. I'd like to remove both. I do not have the cancer gene, but I really think that's irrelevant at this point. So
Yes.
it doesn't matter to me.
Agreed.
And, because she said, well, you can just remove the one. But I said, well, what's the point? I don't want to give it anything to come back to. And I feel like I want to do as much as I can to help myself. So that's why I opted for the double mastectomy. And then I went to see the plastic surgeon. And so her um, treatment path, I guess you could say, was okay, we're going to do the double mastectomy. I'm going to put tissue expanders in, which are these hard plastic
Mm.
looking, very uncomfortable. Well, they put them in, and you have to go to the doctor once a week, and they have to, through like
Expand.
a tube, expand them to stretch your skin to be whatever you want it to be once they then do the reconstructive surgery, which is probably going to be 6 months after that. And given the fact that I have already been hospitalized and my chest port got infected because they put a chest port in where they're supposed to be able to administer your chemo, they only used it once on me and it got infected. I ended up in the hospital for 3 days, and so I was like, I'm not really thrilled about the thought of having a foreign object in my body. I don't really wanna do that. And so then when they end up doing the reconstructive surgery, what she had told me, a lot of people get them. They're called DIEP flaps. So they basically take tissue from your stomach
Hmm.
and they rebuild your breast with it. And so then at that point, what she had told me is, you don't have enough tissue in your stomach to fully rebuild your breasts. I'm only a B cup. Like, I'm not working with a lot over here. And she told me that she was going to have to supplement with implants, which then again, I wasn't really thrilled about because then, they don't last forever. And she tells you that. She's like, they won't last forever. You're going to have to get them redone. They could potentially rupture, leak, fail, all this. And I'm like, what? I don't want to do that.
And that is it might be harder to find a lump if you have implants or no? Like in case, you
Yes.
know?
Yes.
Hmm.
And and a lot of people, that's what they say, like, then they have to do ultrasounds. I mean, you can't really do a mammogram when you have breast
Right.
implants because, you know. And so through all of this, I ended up finding out that the reconstructive surgeon was not in network.
The
Um,
plastic surgeon.
the plastic surgeon is not in network. And at at first, I didn't really understand why it took so long because I had already seen them in, like, February, and I guess it just kinda slipped through the cracks, and so they called me last week and told me they were out of network. So what you can do at that point when somebody's out of network, at least when you have a PPO, is you can call your insurance and you can file, like, a network deficiency claim. So, basically, I'm asking for them to temporarily approve her because what I've learned is that none of the reconstructive breast surgeons are in network. So you go through this process, but then you have to wait 2 weeks to find out if they approve it or not. So now here's another 2 weeks when you're sitting here, because I already have my surgery date at this point. It's June 13th. And I'm sitting here thinking, what am I going to do? But in this, I did reach out, and I reached out to everybody that had contacted me that I knew that it was either going to have a mastectomy, it already had one. And I found another surgeon, and she actually had a completely different treatment plan to where she does the mastectomy and the deep flap at the same time.
I
No
mean, that
tissue
makes sense.
expanders, no
Yeah.
implants, like everything that I wanted. And so I had a virtual consult with her, and she just explained, I mean, she does, what'd she say, 300 flaps a year. So, I mean,
Wow.
she's an expert. She knows
Yeah.
what she's doing. And she's like, a lot of times people are told that they don't have enough tissue to rebuild the breast, but I find that that's not true. And I mean, and oddly enough, I don't know why. Like most people are, sucked up and sick during chemo. And I've actually gained weight during chemo.
Good for you.
So I have more to work with. And
No, that's great.
so, yeah, so the point that I'm at now is because I just met with the oncology surgeon yesterday because it's basically changed the whole team because this surgeon is like, she works, obviously, since she's doing this procedure at the same time, she has her team that she works with. Like, she's not
With
just going to work with any oncology surgeon.
Got it. So she has her own oncology surgeon that she
Yeah.
works closely with because that's how they do it at the same time.
Yes. And so I went and met with the oncology surgeon yesterday. So now that the point that I'm at, probably right when we get off this podcast, is I'm going to call my insurance. And then
Mhm.
now I need to do another claim because obviously she is at a network for everybody, the surgeon I found, because she actually has a private practice. But she's already told me, she's like, I know what to say. Most of my claims get approved. Like, I'm not really worried about it because the first one already got approved. But I just think it's been really eye-opening because, I was talking to a friend the other day and I said, how many women are going through this and all of a sudden they're called and told that the reconstructive is out of network and then they just feel like they have no options.
Right.
Maybe they don't know that they can file a claim, maybe. And so it's like you're quick to just chop them off, but like you don't want to put them back together, and this is not a cosmetic. Like this is just to get someone to feel the way they felt before they had cancer.
Mhm. Which again, I just feel like is a devaluation of is that a word?
I
We're
think
just
so.
devaluing the the anatomy of a woman,
Mhm.
right? Like
Right.
it's cosmetic. Like you don't really need it.
Right.
And it's like and I do know one person, her mom decided to not get reconstructive surgery,
Mhm.
and that was her choice, and she feels great about that. But for other women that makes them feel feminine,
Right.
they've had them the whole lives to then just be gone, and then there's no option to reconstruct that.
Right. I know, it's crazy. I've been so fired up about this for the whole week. I'm just like, I don't get it. I don't get how I feel that if you have insurance and you have a doctor, like the oncology surgeon that is covered, and they're referring you to someone else, you should just be allowed to go. Like why do they get to decide what's covered and what's not covered?
Yeah. Especially what's valuable for a woman.
Mhm.
Your
I
boobs
mean, I
aren't
feel like
valuable.
I feel like anything cancer related should be covered no matter what.
Yes.
And I really don't feel like it should be a 90 to 10%. I feel like it should just be covered and I
Mhm.
feel like we shouldn't have to pay anything. That's
Yeah.
just my personal opinion. This shit is already hard enough as it is.
Mhm. And your choice to do the double mastectomy, that feels like that was like, "For sure, I want that."
Yeah. I don't think that I decided that pretty early on. And even yesterday when we were talking, she said, because then you get into like, there's nipple sparing, or do you want to lose your nipples? And, all of these things. And so when she's telling me yesterday, I think the tumor shrunk enough that we can probably save your nipple. And she's talking to me about it. She goes, but just know that behind it, like, I'm not going to be able to remove 100% of the breast tissue.
Oh.
So then I'm like, okay, so to me, it almost feels selfish in a way to just try to hold on to them for like, I don't know, at this point, it's going to be for aesthetic purposes because she told me you're
Right.
literally going to be numb from your collarbone to like the top of your ribs. I'm not going to be able to
Yeah.
feel anything anyway.
Yeah.
And so, and now I guess they do, which I need to do some more research on it, but I heard they look amazing that now they do like 3D tattoos
Yes, I know a
and they
girl.
look so good.
I know a girl in our networking
Oh, really?
thing. Yeah.
Oh,
I'll
you'll
send
have
you
to
her.
connect me with her.
Yeah. But again, we're missing a whole layer of grief here,
Right.
right? A layer of like, my breasts are gone, my sensation is gone.
Mhm.
I don't know if it is womanhood for some people, sometimes, whether you're an A cup or D cup, it doesn't matter,
Right.
right?
Right.
So I just think that there's another piece, and when we talk about it, so obviously, like tissue and this and that, like they're gonna be gone.
Right.
And a part of you wants them fucking gone.
Right.
Like
Oh, yeah.
everything
I
gone.
said yesterday, I was like, they betrayed me. Like, why would I no. Why would I
Mm,
wanna hold on to them? Like,
mhm.
and I just feel like I said, I just have to do whatever I can to give myself the highest chance of this not coming back. And that's why I've started focusing so much on my nutrition and my exercise and my sleep and, working on my mindset and doing all those things. But I mean, yeah, I feel like right now everything is very factual because it's just
Mhm.
like this is what needs to happen. And I feel like I'm feeling a shift within myself because I'm almost done with chemo. And I think once I'm done with chemo is when it's going to hit me. And then I'm going to kind of start to be like, oh my God, because no matter how good the surgeon is, you're never going to look the same again.
Right.
Like and I don't think there's ever going to be a point that I'm probably going to look in the mirror and you're not going to think about it because you're going
Mhm.
to see it every single day. You're like, right now I have no hair. I mean, I have a wig on for you, but I
It's a
have no
very good
hair.
wig.
Thank you. But, it's like and you look in the mirror and it's jarring sometimes because it's a constant reminder, and I'm hoping that there's gonna come a day that, that's not your first and your last thought when you wake up and you go to sleep, but I don't know if there's not a day for that, like, not right now,
Mhm.
you know?
Mhm.
It's something that forever changes you.
Yeah. And so for you in your emotional journey, does it feel like you've just kind of like, I'm just going to get to the next step, to the next step, to the next step? Or has it felt like overwhelming emotionally for you?
I would say it was more overwhelming in the beginning when I didn't know the plan and I didn't know the treatment,
Mhm.
um, but it hasn't really been that way through chemo. I do have my moments, obviously, that I lose it or I cry or I hear something. My oldest daughter is always telling me, like, you're so emotional, mom. I'm like, and I am an emotional person and I've always been an emotional person. So something like this I mean, I would say there was the first podcast that I was ever on talking about it. I mean, I couldn't even get the words weren't even out of my mouth before I was crying.
Yeah.
But I do think that it comes with time. And the more that you share about it and the more that you talk about it, and I've just kind of accepted it, and don't have that, like, "Why did this happen to me?" Type of feeling or like a hopelessness, like, I never had the hopelessness, feeling. I always knew, like, "Okay, what's the plan?" Like, "I'm gonna fight it, I'm gonna beat it, we're gonna move on." Because, like, I have my 2 little girls, and I have too much to not try, and I know and I've seen people in situations where you approach something and you don't have that optimistic, hopeful, outlook, like, it's gonna take a toll on you, and and I do think that that's why my treatment has been so successful.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. Do you know the Enneagram?
I
Do you
do,
know
but
some? Do
I
you know your
haven't
number?
been
Oh,
I thought I was a 7,
I
but
was gonna say it's got 7 vibes, yeah.
I know, but I met someone that she I don't wanna not diagnoses, what's the word?
Um,
You know what I'm talking about.
mhm.
Evaluates people, maybe that
Yeah.
one. So she told me that she thought I was a 6 and that
Oh.
I should look into that because I know everybody has their wings,
Yeah,
right?
you could be wing 7.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do think it's a very good point of, like, mindset, and you're naturally optimistic even
Mhm.
when the whole diagnosis was happening, that it does impact how you go through things. And
Mhm.
again, it's not like you're avoiding and wishing everything away and everything is fine, but it's that, like, I'm gonna get through this, I'm gonna get through this, I'm gonna get through this.
Yeah. Like your
Which
podcast, How We Get Through.
yes, yes. Oh my gosh, I love it. Oh, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story,
You're
and thank
welcome.
you for choosing to share your story on your platform as well. Um, Insurance is fucked up.
It really
Cancer is
is.
fucked up. How we treat women and their bodies is fucked up. And what I'm hearing from you too is don't forget that you can advocate for yourself,
You can.
and then also that advocating is frustrating and hard
Yeah.
as well.
I will say that the cancer center that I go to, and I'm pretty sure every cancer center has it, but what they've done a really good job of is they have people to help you. And they reach out and they tell you. So if you are somebody, like, say you're going through this and it's a lot of phone calls, and it's like some days you just don't want to deal with it. Like, they have advocates at your cancer center that can do these things for you. It's just, I was so fired up last week that I didn't want anyone to help me and I just wanted to do it
Yeah.
myself. But there are people, and I will say that, like, I have a friend, her husband just started going to the same cancer center that I'm going to, and he started his treatment last week. And she was texting me, and I said, for what it is, they make it really great over there. It's like you go in, and all the nurses, I was like, I freaking love them. They have snacks for you. Like, they know my dad because he comes with me every time. So I do think that that's a good thing, but that's not an insurance thing. That's like a people thing. Like, you have to be a special kind of person to work in a place like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm. Well, I congratulations on your almost last treatment, the
Thank you.
chemo, and we'll keep everybody posted on your journey and tell people where to find you in your podcast.
Yes. So, my podcast is Creating Sunshine. Um, I most of the time release episodes every Wednesday. Sometimes I have a few hiccups, but for the most part, we have weekly episodes that get released. And it's not all I what I did on there during this is I decided I didn't want everything to like flip to cancer. I wanted it to still be, it's inspirational, it's motivational, but I also give you guys like the tools and the tips that you need to make a change. I don't just like sit there and tell you to make a change. I give you like strategy. And then I did the cancer episodes in a series. So if anybody's interested to go back and listen, there's like part 1, part 2, part 3, so it didn't take over everything. Also, you can find me on Instagram, at Sarah_Arvizu. That's where I hang out, spend most of my time. So if you'd like to connect, I'd love to connect with you.
Awesome. And I want to link your GoFundMe on the show notes as well if
Well, thank
anybody
you so
feels like
much.
they want to contribute. So thank you so much, Sarah.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
If you are loving what you're hearing, please give us a review up on Apple Podcasts as it helps our show grow. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.